what percentage, or can you weight by percentage, how important your technical skills are to your success in your job? If you had to guess a percentage, how important would you say your technical knowledge in whatever job it is that you have, what's the weight on that? Anybody want to guess? 60%? 100%? I heard 90, I heard 50. What else? 80? Who said 70? Somebody said 50. Anybody lower than 50? Did I hear lower than 50? Forbes magazine published a study that was conducted by the Carnegie Institute. And they were able to determine that only 15%, 1/5, of your success in the world of business will be determined by your technical knowledge. Only 15%. The other 85% depends on your personality, your communication skills, and your ability to lead others. So, everybody in here is leading a team of at least another person? Yes? Okay, let me hear who's in the room. How big are your teams? Anybody have less than 5? Okay, less than 5. Anybody have more than 10? More than 10. Okay. How many do you have? 50. How many do you have? 11. Okay. So now you've been thrust into this position. You were so happy when you got the job, right? When you were promoted. And now you're in this position where you don't really have the control over what the people do. Am I right? You know, like if you could get in there and just do it yourself, you can make sure it's right. And I know sometimes you wish you can. But you can't. And so you have to depend on these people you lead to do it right. To do it according to the standard that represents you. Because the bottom line is what? The buck stops. So it doesn't matter if your team is lacking and lackluster. That's the group of people that you were given to work with. And so you have to do it. You got to make it happen. Let me ask you this. How important do you think charisma is in being successful as a manager? I hear very over here. More than 50, I heard. More than 50%? Okay. Okay. Well, Harvard University did a study. And they found that managers who possess charisma are able to get so much more done through their teams. Everybody wants to work with them. They're willing to go above and beyond. They don't stop and say, "I get an overtime for this?" They work to make the manager or their boss look good. They take ownership for what they do when they are working for a manager who has charisma. So today, we're going to talk about professional charisma. Because, you know, it's not just charisma, giddy ha-ha, life of the party, right? That's not the charisma that we're talking about. We're talking about a lot more than that. What is professional charisma? If you had to guess, based on the flyer that you saw when you were signed up to come to this workshop today, and you saw the words professional charisma, in your mind, what did that mean? Okay, the way you conduct yourself. What else?
Knowing how to create the balance between being that exciting leader and being professional, knowing when to do what, how to do what.
That's good too. Someone else. Professional charisma. How would you define it?
Like a personality, I don't know, business personality, professional personality.
Okay. All right. All of you have elements of it, for sure. Let's break down the word. First of all, professional charisma is a term that I coined. And it's the ability to communicate in a way that says that you are confident, that you are competent, that you're intelligent, you're trustworthy, and you are likable. Yeah. So, you know, we have a lot of people in the workplace. We have a lot of professionals. We see them all the time. We wind up interacting with them often in customer service situations and things like that. And they may know their job, right? They may be very, very well versed on what it is that they do, but they don't come across that way. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah.
And so you say, well, geez, this can't possibly be the manager. Have you ever had that experience? So when we talk about professional charisma, a big part of that is being able to communicate in a way that says that you are competent. You have to come across as competent. You don't look professional if you come across as if you're not confident. Or, I'm sorry, competent. And with that competency comes a certain amount of confidence, right? So we can always tell the bank teller who just started today, why did you have to get them, right? The confidence is not there. They might be kind, they might be polite, but they lack an air of confidence, and you're just hoping and praying they got the deposit right and didn't transpose the number. You have to be able to come across as intelligent. And let me ask you something. When I say come across as intelligent, what are some of the elements that make someone come across as intelligent?
This is where you're knowing your technical skills are important.
Knowing your technical skills. Okay. Language. Tell me more.
The words which they use to express themselves.
The word, I love, you want to teach? I love that. Because it's so true, right? You need to know what you're doing. You need to have those technical skills. But even more importantly, the language that you use. Let's just say, come on, something simple. Wince is the only guy in the room and my videographer. So we'll just take you through something we go through all the time. You go to an expensive salon. Okay, maybe we don't all go to expensive salons. I don't. But let's say you go to an expensive salon, spa, and you're going to get a big bill. You know this, right? And it's beautiful. It's all well decorated. They have all of the high-end products. And the young lady who's doing your hair says, your hair is so dry. You want some deep conditioner? You want a deep conditioner today? She could say that. Or she could say, I notice your hair's not retaining moisture. Would you like a deep conditioner for moisture retention? Does it feel different? Who would you probably buy products from at the end of your service, even though they're really expensive? That was good. Another thing, somebody tell me, what else helps to convey intelligence? The way you look. Okay, I'm not going to laugh. Okay, what does that mean?
How you present yourself based on where you're going. If you're going to an interview, if you're going to church, wherever you're going, being appropriately dressed says a lot.
Being appropriate. So you can imagine as a manager, Miss Taylor actually works in a school, right? So being appropriate for the setting, right? So if you're a teacher and you work in a high school with a bunch of little boys with hormones running around, it's inappropriate to go to work looking like you work for Aura nightclub, right? It's inappropriate. If you happen to work at, I don't know, Wong's Bookstore and Stationers, and you have to climb ladders to get stock down off the shelf, you wouldn't dress in heels and skirts. It's about being appropriate for the situation. And she says that's a mark of intelligence. And you know what? I never thought about it before, but I tend to agree. You're smart enough to know what's appropriate. Because everything communicates, doesn't it? And you'll hear me say that a lot. Everything communicates. So if you come to work, even dressed in a way that looks like you're not there to work, that conveys something. I had an HR manager come to me and she wanted me to speak to her people. And one of the things she really had a problem with was stilettos in the office. Because she said, they don't look like they're going to work. You know what I mean? They're so high and they're teeter-tottering, and you're supposed to be getting files and moving, and you just don't look like you came prepared to work. It says something, doesn't it? Everything communicates. It's the ability to come across as trustworthy. Now, as managers, how important is it for your staff to deem you as trustworthy? Have you ever worked for a manager for whom you did not trust? Have you ever worked for somebody like that? That you just didn't know what they were doing? You know, you always had your little antenna up, didn't know if you could trust them. Are they telling me one thing, telling seniors something else? Are they giving my colleagues breaks that they're not giving me, extending them courtesies? Once people cannot trust you, that's a problem. And last of all, likable. Your likability factor. Now, you know, people, how many think being likable is shallow? No? Nobody in this room? I guess that's why you came, hey? The people think it's shallow, they're not here, obviously, right? But your likability factor is a currency. It is a currency. They are now doing all of these surveys and research in the US, and businesses are restructuring their models and their branding and image to come across as likable. Not just in the brand, but in the people that work for them. Because we're in a world that is very competitive, and there are a million people doing the same thing. And studies have shown that people will pay more to get less from people they like. Professional means the way you come across. It conveys that you can be taken seriously because you're serious about your business and the business of the client. That's what a professional is. Someone who can be taken seriously. I mean, have you ever been in a place where you expected a lot from this professional and you could not take them seriously for one reason or another? Maybe the way they dressed, maybe the way they talked. Remember, everything communicates. So in our society where we're very relaxed, right? Boy, compared to other places, we are like, we're not even at go slow. We're at stop, halt. You know, we're very laid back. I think a part of that is because everybody knows everybody, right? So I hold a lunch and learn, and I know some of the people in the room, you know, and it makes you relax. You work in a bank and you're the teller. Well, you know, probably a day doesn't go by that someone doesn't get on that line that you don't know personally. And so a lot of times our professionalism is diminished because we're very comfortable. But everything communicates. So your decorum is important. Like when you're at work, you should look like you're at work. And so there is actually, you know, a work persona. You agree? I mean, when you're at work, should you look and act as if you're just at home or down at the fish fry? I mean, is there a difference for you? Because for many people, there is no difference. They're the same everywhere they go. But that's when that comes to being appropriate, just like Ms. Taylor said. Because just like you would never decide, it's hot. Boy, it's hot now. Hot. Boy, going to church. Let me put on this bathing suit. It's hot. You would never do that, right? Because it's just inappropriate. Well, even your decorum and your behavior, everything is not appropriate for the workplace. So we should have a different persona when we're presenting ourselves as a professional, especially when we're representing a company that, you know, is paying us a salary. If you want to be lax with your own business, that's very different. But when you're representing a company, they're expecting something more from you. Your communication is another area that we need to be mindful of, because in our relaxed society, it's very easy to, you know, just use Bahamian slang when we're talking to clients of the business, because we're so relaxed, we're so comfortable. Whose signature that is? Right? I mean, we hear it so often, we almost forget. That's not proper grammar. He gone. He ain't here, or he ain't reached yet, which I love. Which I love, because the word reach is to, not to arrive. But anyway, that's one of our favorites, right? We like to use reach for arrive. He ain't reached yet, and he ain't, okay? And when you're managing people, you owe that to them too. Because to be too relaxed with them is to say, you ain't that important. I can talk to you any kind of way. Child, bring me them files from over. You know what I mean? That relaxed attitude makes it seem like it's not that important, or you're not that important. So even the way you communicate contributes to professional charisma, the professional portion of it. And then your proficiency. And we won't get into that, but we know that we need to be proficient at whatever we do. And I say that to say I have to put it there because it's not enough to be likable on your job and inefficient on your job. You know, all the personality in the world, well, sometimes it does help a lot. People who have, you know, it's funny because people who are likable, sometimes, you know, their errors are overlooked because, you know, we like you. And their proficiencies are sometimes, improficiency is sometimes cloaked because we like you. But that is kind of like the win in your sale, being likable. Because if people don't like you, what happens when you make a mistake? Everybody wants to call you out, right? So being proficient is also important. Let's talk about charisma. Okay, charisma is the likability factor. It's that compelling attractiveness or charm that can inspire devotion in others. Do you think that if your staff felt devotion to you, that it would assist you in getting the job done? So here are 7 keys to enhance your professional charisma so that you can become a more effective leader. This is the wind that is pushing you in your back. You know, you've got all your technical skills. You know what it is that you're doing. You have the goal. You know where you want to take the team. Now let's make it easier to get the job done. How many of you experience resistance among your team sometimes? You know that cloud that you feel when you walk in? You just feel the resistance. The cloud is so thick, right? The energy is so heavy. and you're wondering, oh, should I even ask for this task today? Because I know I'm going to get attitude. We have to be able to bring down the resistance, because that makes our job very difficult. It's very taxing and it's very draining. But charisma is what puts that wind in your back and helps to dissipate some of the resistance that you tend to get from your team. Now, we're talking about being likable, and this always comes up. You know, I was on a radio talk show and somebody had to call in. Well, I tell them, well, ma'am, doesn't familiarity breed contempt? I mean, if you get too friendly with your staff, won't they feel like they don't want to work for you no more? You know, they don't have to do what they're supposed to do. How many people struggle with that? That maybe, you know, being too familiar is detrimental to your leadership. Anybody? No? Yes? Yeah. Charisma is about how you make other people feel when they are around you. The way you make other people feel about themselves when they're around you. If you are able to make people feel good about themselves when they are around you, you become likable and you've got charisma. The wind is in your back, your job is easier. You can influence them, you can inspire them. So when we think about those other six steps, you think about your intentions. When we're talking about professional charisma, our intentions have nothing to do with us. It's about turning that on the outside and reflecting them. So your intention is not about being liked. Your intention is about building, and then people like that about you. Number two, we talked about communicating with clarity. It's being able to set the vision nice and clear, where people get it and they can run with it. They don't have to wonder what it is that you want. And you come across as the one in charge. I mean, this strengthens your leadership presence like you would not believe, when you are very clear and very focused. And you can communicate in that way. Be clear. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in just talking to your people. They deserve better. Write down what you want to say. Practice it if you need to, so that you can be clear and succinct. When you talk about your leadership presence, it does not come by happenstance. It comes through intention. Intention. You know how easy it is to talk and you just don't, we learned how to talk and we just talk. And we don't really think about how people are perceiving us, or the things that we're saying, or what we're communicating with our bodies, our facial expressions. Be intentional. Increase your emotional intelligence. That's what charisma is about. People like people who like them, number one. You like them first. You know, there's some people, when they meet someone new, somebody becomes a part of their team. Let me see if I like this one. I know. Like them first. Because people like people who like them. Don't we? People like people who like them. Except that annoying guy who keeps running behind you. Like, leave me alone. But other than that, and even that, you can kind of appreciate the fact that he's running behind you, even if you don't like him that much. But as opposed to making people prove themselves, give them the benefit of the doubt. Trust and empower your people. Because you'll be surprised how they will rise to the occasion. We're not the only smart ones in the room. They may not know everything because you come with seasoning. You know, experience brings seasoning that somebody just doesn't have when they just start. I mean, it takes time to be seasoned. That's true. That's why you're there. So you've got the seasoning. You've got the seasoning. When you get these Generation Y people in your circles, you know, and you got this generation gap going on, and they are so impatient, and for them you really do need to be succinct because, you know, they don't have the attention span to listen to anything that's too long. You know, their minds are going like this. Give them the vision. Give them the guidelines. Tell them, I know you could do it. Entrust them to whatever it is that you want them to do. Empower them. Watch them rise. They probably surprise you every single time. I didn't say be hands off. I didn't say give it to them and then go somewhere and now you don't know what's going on. I'm saying don't breathe down their neck. Well, why didn't you make it blue? Watch them rise. And sell them on the big picture. And more importantly than the big picture, put them in the picture. What is their role in the picture? What is the role that they play? And what is the unique thing that they are bringing to your team that you really appreciate? You love it so much that you want to talk about it. You love it so much you want to build them with it. And watch them run for you. They will run for you. And then you have the opportunity to demand more. Once you've built that rapport, it's not about being mediocre, you know. It's about building that rapport so you could demand more, so you could raise the standards, so you could stretch them. And guess what? They're okay with it because they feel like you care about them. Because it's about more than you, it's about them too. You know, if my mindset is, y'all ain't gonna make me look bad. If that's my mindset, see, I ain't gonna let y'all make me look bad. Think about how you will communicate. Because you know, communication is based on what's going on in your head, isn't it? So if in my mind, whether I ever say it or not, if I'm thinking, I'm not gonna let y'all make me look bad, I'm going to communicate with you in a certain way. It's gonna ooze through my pores. I may never say it, you'll just feel it. Versus, I want to make you look good. I'm going to help you shine. That will ooze through your pores too. And people will feel that. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference in how they feel about you. And that's charisma. That's charisma. And then it's easy. Because you don't have to be pushing them and pleading and prodding and threatening and, you know, suspending and writing up and all these other things. They'll be self-motivated. So as managers, team leaders, even if you just have one direct report, start there. Seek to inspire. Seek to inspire. They've got something in them just like you have something in you. They've got dreams, goals, plans. They need to be recognized. They need to be valued, just like you do. If you do it, that's the charisma that you need to get your team to do what it is that you need to do. And it will give you the leverage to rise much higher than expected without trying nearly as hard. Time for lunch. Give yourself a hand.